Everyone panics about batteries dying in winter. That's not when they actually fail. Heat is. Summer heat cooks the acid inside your battery faster than any freeze ever could, and shops know it. That's why battery sales spike every July, right when most of them don't need to. I'm AutoCare Lab. I test what actually survives, not what's on sale at the counter, so stick with us just if this is the kind of thing you want to know before it costs you. Today, the 5 battery brands quietly failing in summer heat, the 7 that actually hold up, and the one thing at your gas station that's speeding up the damage right now. Quick fact before we start: cold weather doesn't kill your battery, it just reveals the damage heat already did. Every degree above roughly 77 degrees Fahrenheit cooks the acid inside your battery faster, which is exactly why battery failures spike every January. The damage happened in July, and nobody told you. Here are the 5 brands doing the most damage right now, and the 7 that actually survive it. Ultra-budget value line batteries sold under store-exclusive names. Nearly every major retailer, auto parts chains, big box stores, warehouse clubs, sells a rock-bottom value battery line under a store-exclusive name, typically priced $30 to $50 below the mid-tier option sitting right next to it on the same shelf. These are consistently the top-selling battery in the store, purely because of that price gap. The way manufacturers hit that lower price point is by reducing plate count and plate thickness inside the battery. Fewer, thinner lead plates means less material cost, but it also means significantly less surface area for the chemical reaction that generates current, and thinner plates that warp and degrade faster under the exact thermal expansion and contraction cycles that summer heat causes daily. Independent battery testing organizations have repeatedly found that budget-tier batteries in this category deliver cold cranking amp ratings that fall short of their printed label rating by a wider margin than mid-tier and premium batteries, and that gap widens further after just one summer of heat cycling. The internal grid structure holding those thinner plates in place is also typically made from a lower-grade lead alloy, which corrodes faster under sustained heat exposure, meaning the very thing that's supposed to hold the battery's guts together is often the first thing to start failing once summer temperatures really kick in. Here's what makes this genuinely deceptive. These value line batteries are frequently manufactured with warranty periods of just 12 to 18 months, while sitting on a shelf next to a battery that costs maybe $25 more with a 3-year warranty. Most shoppers, especially under time pressure with a dead car in the parking lot, never compare the warranty length printed in small text on the box. They compare the sticker price, see the smaller number, and grab it, not realizing they've essentially bought a battery the manufacturer itself doesn't expect to survive 2 full summers. A pattern reported repeatedly by independent shops. A driver replaces a dead battery in June with the cheapest option on the shelf to save money, and returns the following August, 13 months later, just past the warranty window, with a battery that's already failing a load test, showing swollen case walls from heat expansion and visibly degraded terminals. Because they're 1 month outside the warranty period, the replacement cost falls entirely on them again. Do the math over 3 years. A $90 value battery that needs replacing after 14 months means you're buying 3 batteries in 3 years. $270 total, plus 3 separate installation trips if you're not doing it yourself. A $130 mid-tier battery with a proper 3-year warranty, replaced once, costs $130. You didn't save $40. You spent $140 extra for the privilege of doing this twice as often. Batteries with undersized reserve capacity for modern electrical loads. A huge share of batteries sold today are marketed primarily on cold cranking amps, the number that determines whether your engine turns over in cold weather, while barely mentioning reserve capacity, the rating that determines how long your battery can power your car's electronics if the alternator fails or with heavy accessory use. Modern vehicles draw dramatically more electrical load than vehicles even 10 years ago. Infotainment systems, multiple computer modules, heated seats, always-on security systems, and in many cars, stop-start technology that cycles the engine on and off in traffic, demanding rapid, repeated current bursts from the battery dozens of times per drive. Batteries engineered primarily around a high CCA number but a low reserve capacity rating are undersized for this kind of repeated cycling, and documented failure analysis shows this mismatch as a leading cause of batteries in modern vehicles failing years earlier than their rated lifespan, particularly in vehicles with stop-start systems that weren't paired with an enhanced flooded battery or AGM battery designed. Specifically for that cycling demand, retail battery finder systems at many parts stores generate a recommendation based primarily on vehicle make, model, and year, not on whether that specific trim level has stop-start technology, which requires a different battery specification entirely. This means a customer can walk in, use the store's own official lookup tool, and walk out with a battery that is technically compatible enough to fit and start the car, but not correctly rated for how that specific vehicle's electrical system actually behaves day to day. Independent technician reports describe a recurring scenario with stop-start equipped vehicles. A standard flooded battery installed using the store's standard lookup recommendation fails within 18 to 24 months, well short of its rated life, because it was never designed for the number of engine restart cycles that stop-start technology demands, sometimes over 300,000 charge cycles over a battery's life compared to a fraction of that in a non-stop start vehicle. The correct AGM, or enhanced flooded battery, for a stop-start vehicle typically costs $180 to $250 versus $120 to $150 for a standard flooded battery. That $60 to $100 difference feels like an upsell in the store. In reality, installing the wrong battery type means replacing it again in half the time, turning a one-time $220 purchase into two purchases totaling roughly $360, plus the inconvenience of an unexpected battery failure, often at the worst possible moment. Batteries sitting on store shelves past their manufacture date. Every battery has a manufacture date stamped somewhere on the case. Usually a simple letter and number code most customers have no idea how to read. Batteries are perishable, self-discharging products, and industry guidance generally considers a battery to have already lost meaningful capacity if it's been sitting unsold and uncharged on a shelf for 6 months or more. A battery sitting in inventory doesn't just sit there neutrally, it self-discharges over time, and low-charge states accelerate a process called sulfation, where lead sulfate crystals harden on the battery plates, permanently reducing the battery's capacity even before it's ever installed in a car. A battery that's 6 to 12 months old when purchased, especially if it wasn't kept on a maintenance charger in storage, can already have measurably reduced performance and shortened remaining lifespan compared to a fresh battery, even though both are sold at full price as new. Most customers have no idea this date code exists, let alone how to decode it, and it's rarely pointed out by sales staff at the counter. You could pay full price for a new battery that's actually been sitting in a warehouse or on a shelf for the better part of a year, already partially degraded before it ever sees your engine bay, with zero disclosure at the point of sale. A commonly reported scenario: a customer buys a battery, and within the first year, well before any reasonable expectation of failure, it struggles to hold a charge or fails a load test. When the manufacture date is checked, it turns out the battery was already 10 to 11 months old at the time of purchase, meaning the 1 year of expected life the customer assumed they were getting was really closer to a couple of months by the time real degradation set in. In some of these cases, the battery had never been on a maintenance charger at all during that shelf time, meaning it had been slowly self-discharging, completely unattended, the entire time it sat waiting to be sold. Checking a battery's date code takes 15 seconds and costs nothing. Not checking it means you could be paying full price, often $130 to $180, for a battery that's already lost a meaningful chunk of its usable life before you've even driven off the lot, silently shortening a warranty period that started counting down the day it was manufactured, not the day you bought it. Batteries with inadequate vibration and heat cycling resistance for daily stop-and-go driving. Certain battery construction types, particularly older style flooded lead-acid designs without internal reinforcement, are marketed broadly as fitting a wide range of vehicles, without clearly distinguishing that they're better suited to steady highway driving than the constant vibration and heat soak of daily city stop-and-go traffic. Repeated engine bay heat soak, where underhood temperatures spike during stop-and-go traffic and then partially cool during brief highway stretches, combined with constant road vibration, is documented to accelerate internal plate degradation and loosen internal connections inside batteries that lack reinforced plate strapping and vibration-resistant case design. Independent testing has shown a measurable gap in failure rates between reinforced AGM-style batteries and standard flooded batteries, specifically in stop-and-go city driving conditions with high summer heat exposure, with standard flooded units showing meaningfully higher rates of premature capacity loss. The battery aisle rarely distinguishes this at the point of sale. A driver commuting in dense city traffic in Phoenix or Houston in extreme summer heat is sold the exact same standard flooded battery as a driver in a mild climate doing mostly highway miles, despite the first scenario being measurably harder on a battery, a documented pattern among urban daily commuters in hot climates. A standard flooded battery rated for 5 years fails a load test at 22 to 28 months, with the failure attributed by inspecting technicians to internal plate degradation as consistent with repeated heat soak cycling and stop-and-go traffic. Well outside the manufacturer's expected failure window for that battery, but consistent with a pattern seen across other vehicles in similar driving conditions. The upgrade to a reinforced AGM battery designed for this kind of duty typically adds $50 to $90 to the purchase price, against a standard battery that fails at half its rated life and needs replacing roughly twice as often over the same period. That upfront difference pays for itself and then some. Rebranded batteries with no traceable manufacturing source. A wide range of lesser-known battery brands sold online and at discount retailers carry no clearly disclosed manufacturing source, warranty administrator, or company history, often appearing and disappearing from marketplaces within a couple of years, replaced by a near-identical product under a new name. Without a traceable manufacturer, there's no meaningful way to verify build quality consistency, plate material sourcing, or actual internal specifications versus what's printed on the label, and warranty claims on these products are frequently difficult or impossible to fulfill once the selling brand disappears from the marketplace, which is a documented pattern with short-lived private label import battery brands. And these batteries are often sold with warranty lengths on paper, 2 years, 3 years, that look competitive with established brands, but with no functioning process to actually honor that warranty once a claim needs to be filed months or years later, especially if the selling company has rebranded or the listing has been removed entirely. A frequently reported experience among online marketplace battery buyers: a battery purchased at a steep discount from an unfamiliar brand fails within the stated warranty period, but attempting to file a claim reveals the seller's storefront no longer exists, or the manufacturer listed no longer responds to warranty inquiries at all, leaving the buyer with a dead battery and a worthless paper warranty. A 3-year warranty that can't actually be honored isn't worth the paper it's printed on. When you factor in a full-price replacement with zero recourse, an unbranded discount battery that seemed to save $30 to $40 upfront ends up costing the full replacement price all over again, with nothing to show for the original warranty claim. Quick pause before the winners. If any of these 5 patterns sound like the battery currently sitting under your hood right now, that's exactly why we do this every week, taking apart what's actually being sold versus what's actually good. If you want to catch the next category before it costs you, hitting subscribe means you see it before your car does. Here's the part that should actually make you feel better. Fixing this doesn't mean spending more in most cases. It means spending the same money on the same shelf on the specific thing that actually survives what your climate is doing to it. Here are 7 ways to get that right. Reinforced GM batteries for stop-start vehicles. Drivers who switched from a standard flooded battery to a proper AGM battery specifically rated for stop-start systems report dramatically fewer unexpected failures, because the AGM design is built from the ground up for the rapid charge-discharge cycling that stop-start technology demands. What's underrated is that AGM batteries also tolerate heat cycling meaningfully better than standard flooded designs, because their sealed, absorbed glass mat construction resists the internal plate warping that heat expansion causes in standard batteries, meaning the exact upgrade that fixes your stop-start compatibility problem is also the one that survives Texas summers better. Mid-tier batteries with a full 3-year free replacement warranty. Drivers who moved up from the cheapest shelf option to a mid-tier battery with a genuine full 3-year free replacement warranty, FICE, not just a pro-rated warranty, get meaningfully better plate construction and, just as importantly, real financial protection if the battery underperforms in extreme heat. Here's the underrated part. A full free replacement warranty period is one of the most reliable public signals of a manufacturer's actual internal confidence in their product's durability, because pro-rated warranties cost the manufacturer far less if a battery fails early, meaning a full replacement warranty is a manufacturer putting real money behind their own claims. Batteries purchased and verified, fresh, using the manufacture date code. Drivers who started checking the manufacture date code before buying, a 5-second glance at a sticker or embossed code, consistently end up with batteries that deliver closer to their full rated lifespan, simply because they're not unknowingly buying a battery that's already been degrading in a warehouse for most of a year. What's surprising is how simple this fix is. It costs nothing, takes seconds, and instantly filters out one of the most common silent quality issues in battery retail, yet almost no consumer education exists around it at the point of sale. Batteries with reserve capacity rated above vehicle minimum spec. Drivers who shifted from shopping purely on cold cranking amps to also checking reserve capacity and picking a battery rated above their vehicle's stated minimum report noticeably better performance running modern electronics, especially during stop-and-go traffic with the AC, infotainment, and multiple accessories running simultaneously. The underrated insight here: reserve capacity matters more for daily drivability in hot climates than CCA does for most drivers, since CCA is really about cold weather engine starting, the thing almost nobody in a hot climate state actually struggles with. Batteries from manufacturers with regional climate-specific formulations. Drivers in extreme heat states who switch to a battery line specifically formulated or rated for high heat climates, rather than a generic nationwide battery, report longer real-world service life, because these formulations typically use heavier internal plate reinforcement and heat-resistant case materials designed around exactly the conditions they're driving in. What's underrated is that many major manufacturers already sell these climate-specific versions, but they're not always prominently marketed or clearly labeled apart from a small climate icon on the box. A detail worth specifically asking your parts counter about by name. Batteries installed with a post-installation load test. Drivers who added a simple post-installation load test offered free at most parts stores and many shops. As a standard step after any new battery install, catch manufacturing defects or weak units immediately while still well within the return window, rather than discovering a problem battery months later when it's harder to prove it was defective from day one. The underrated part: this test takes about 2 minutes, is free almost everywhere, and yet the overwhelming majority of battery buyers skip it entirely, assuming a battery working on day one means it's fine, when a slow manufacturing defect can take weeks to show up without a proper load test catching it early. Annual pre-summer battery health testing. Drivers who switch to getting a simple battery health test every spring before peak summer heat arrives catch batteries that are degrading months before they'd otherwise fail unexpectedly, turning a surprise breakdown into a planned, unhurried replacement on their own schedule. What's genuinely underrated is that this test is free at almost every auto parts store nationwide, takes under 5 minutes, and completely flips the seasonal panic buying cycle most people are stuck in. Instead of scrambling for a battery on the coldest morning of the year, you're replacing it calmly on a random Tuesday in May because a 5-minute test told you to. Zoom out, and the pattern across the entire battery industry looks a lot like the AC recharge industry we've covered before. The entire retail experience is optimized around panic, not planning. Battery marketing budgets pour into fall and winter, right when a cold snap creates a wave of sudden, urgent, "I need a battery right now" purchases, the exact moment when a customer has the least time, least information, and least leverage to make a good decision. Meanwhile, the actual damage that leads to that dead battery morning happened months earlier, silently, in July and August heat, completely unmarketed and unmentioned. An industry that profited from educating you about summer heat damage in June would sell you a battery in June calmly on your terms. Instead, most of the industry profits more from you finding out the hard way in a parking lot in January. And once you see that pattern, you start noticing it everywhere in this industry. The urgency is always manufactured around the worst possible moment for you to make a good decision, and it's never an accident which season gets the marketing budget. Here's exactly what to do this week, not in January. First, find your battery's manufacture date code and check how old it actually is. Most auto parts stores can also test it for free in under 5 minutes. Second, if you're due for a replacement, do it now, in summer, on your schedule, not in a panic later. Third, check whether your vehicle has stop-start technology and specifically ask for an AGM or enhanced flooded battery rated for it. Don't rely on a generic fitment lookup alone. Fourth, prioritize reserve capacity, not just cold cranking amps, especially if you live somewhere hot. And fifth, always get a free post-install load test before you drive off, so any defect gets caught in week 1, not month 11. None of these 5 steps cost you anything extra beyond the price of the battery itself. They're all free checks, free tests, or a 30-second date code lookup. The only cost is the couple of minutes it takes to actually do them instead of grabbing whatever's cheapest and walking out. The single biggest thing to take away from all of this: your battery isn't dying in winter, it's dying all summer long, quietly, while you're not looking. Winter just delivers the news. If you've had a battery fail way earlier than it should have, or you found a brand that genuinely outlasted its warranty by years, tell us in the comments, because that real-world data is exactly what shapes which brands we test next. And if this changed how you're going to shop for your next battery, you'll want to catch the next video, where we go after the fuel additive aisle. Because there's a specific type of summer engine stalling that sends people to the shoulder of the highway in 100-degree heat, and almost nobody knows which additives actually prevent it versus which ones make it worse. One last thing worth remembering as you head into the rest of the summer: heat damage is invisible until it isn't. There's no dashboard light for your battery is quietly cooking right now. The only way to catch it before it catches you is to actually check the date code, the load test, the warranty terms. Instead of waiting for the morning, it simply doesn't start.